To better understand the tension between East and West, we've come here to Istanbul, Turkey, a city straddling both Europe and Asia. Istanbul has a rich Islamic past. Until 1922, it was the center of the last great Islamic empire of the Ottomans. But 80 years ago, Kemal Ataturk became the first leader of a Muslim people to believe that in order to modernize, Islam's influence on society had to be crushed.
Governments which ruled Muslims were very often, like colonial governments, they suffocated Muslims. They suffocated those who wanted to go back to their original culture. With all due respect to Kemal Ataturk in Turkey, I mean, this man is attempted to suppress Islam.
Under Ataturk, Friday ceased to be a public holiday and mosques emptied. Sharia law was replaced by Western legal codes. Islamic scholars were forced to submit to state control. Arabic script was replaced by the Latin alphabet, and Turks were sent back to school to learn it.
With his power as president and dictator, he begins his reform. He commands young Turks to go to business school. He brings in foreigners to show girls how to dress, how to manage their homes the European way. Into European dress, he forces both men and women, sweeping away the veil and the fez.
For several decades, it seemed as if Ataturk's reforms could succeed. By the 70s, Turkey had become one of the most westernized countries in the region and an active member of NATO. But at the same time, rapid urbanization was changing Turkey's cities. A free market economy had increased inequality, and voters were frustrated at what they saw as corruption within the political system. Many Muslims began to question Ataturk's belief that Islam should be removed from politics.
This desire to talk about politics as being separate from Islam is something that Muslim scholars on the whole have never accepted. Why? The Prophet Muhammad was a prophet and a statesman.
So pro-Islamic politicians promised to rectify a split that they saw as artificial. Turkish secular author Aysel Ekşi.
It is very easy to use religion in Turkey, in other Muslim countries, as part of Turkey is very poor, and then they just believe that if the Muhammad Prophet time comes back again, they will be prosperous, and this is what they claim.
By 1996, the Turkish Islamic Party had gained enough popularity to win over 20% of the national vote and came to power in a coalition government. In response, secular officials clamped down on Islam's most visible symbols. These women became victims of a crackdown on the headscarf, which was banned from all public institutions.
I was studying here, this university. For 3 years I studied at Department of Physics. But the 4th year I couldn't enter because of my headscarf. They said us, you are covering your head with hijab, with scarf. You couldn't enter this university. But I studied with my headscarf for 3 years. Yeah, this building is the library of Istanbul University, and we can't with our headscarf, even in a library, we can't go, we can't enter, we can't search in there.
If we allow the girls to cover their heads, one day we would be forced to cover our heads as well. We were frightened that if we had allowed them, they would turn Turkey into Iran.
The headscarf isn't an object that represents a political party or a movement. In my opinion, it's not an instrument of propaganda. For me, the headscarf is about being religious and as a symbol of Islam.
I am not dangerous. I wasn't dangerous and I'm not dangerous.
The vice rector of Istanbul University played a central role in enforcing the headscarf ban. She is Nur Sirter.
It was not only a matter of headscarf. With the headscarf, many other things have started to take place at the universities. For example, the students, they didn't want examinations or classes on Fridays. There are many mosques around Istanbul University, but students, instead of going to mosques, they wanted to do their praying at the corridors. And they published some magazines saying that they are coming to the university to fight for an Islamic state. So day by day, these demands increased. And of course, afterwards, some limitations took place.
Yasak ilk başladığında
When the ban started, I was in my 4th year of medical school.
ve ilk başladığında
On that day, just as I went into class and sat in my chair,
hocam gelip bana
my teacher came over and told me I had to leave.
dedi. Ben de
For half an hour or so, I tried talking to him, but they called the police.
Polisleri çağırdı.
They grabbed me and carried me out.
The police moved in to break up the demonstrations. These women began to work for a human rights group, counseling other students caught in the same situation and campaigning against the headscarf ban. But rather than the ban being lifted, the headscarf became the focus of a political crisis. In 1999, Merve Kavacha, a 30-year-old U.S.-educated software engineer with dual U.S.-Turkish citizenship, was elected as a deputy for the Islamic Party. She had worn a headscarf throughout her campaign, but when she attended the swearing-in ceremony, the parliament erupted. Her fellow deputy was Nasli Ilichak.
When we walked into the room, perhaps 120 deputies just stand up and began to shout, "Out to Merve Kavacha, out, out, out."
After 45 minutes, recess was declared, and Merve Kavacha was forced to leave the parliament building. Within 2 weeks, she was stripped of her Turkish citizenship. 2 years later, her party was shut down.